Senate will come back to order. Hopefully we gave everybody enough time to nibble on some lunch. Secretary, will you read the caption of Senate Bill 215?
Senate Bill 215 by Senator Walker of the 20th and others, a bill to be entitled an act to amend Article 1 of Chapter 7 of Title 31 of the OCGA relating to regulation of hospitals and related institutions so as to authorize certified medication aides to administer certain medications to nursing home residents. The Senate Committee on Health and Human Services recommends that this bill do pass by substitute. Respectfully submitted, Senator Watson of the 1st. Health and Human Services offers the following substitute to Senate Bill 215, a bill to be entitled an act to amend Article 1 of Chapter 7 of Title 31 of the OCGA relating to regulation of hospitals and related institutions so as to authorize certified medication aides to administer certain medications to nursing home residents. This completes the order, Mr. President.
Chair recognizes the senator from the 20th to speak to Senate Bill 215.
Thank you, Mr. President. I talk pretty slow, so maybe we'll have a quorum by the time I finish.
Just talk with that slow southern drawl.
Yes, sir. Senate Bill 215 is an important measure to help our skilled nursing facilities in Georgia take care of our frail and elderly loved ones. Skilled nursing facilities have long faced workforce challenges, and we have a nursing shortage here in Georgia, have had for quite some time. This measure would allow a pathway for certified nursing assistants to get additional training and become a certified medication aide and administer medications in skilled nursing facilities. This really isn't a novel idea. Back in 2012, the Georgia General Assembly passed a measure to allow assisted living facilities to do this. The rules were promulgated, and that began happening in 2013, and it's been a good help to the assisted living facilities and been a success. The bill lays out what types of medications they can administer, and it specifically on line 61 and 62 excludes Schedule II controlled substances. So it's a good measure to make sure that our loved ones are getting the medication they need. It helps the nursing homes with their workforce challenges, and it provides a path for advancement for certified nursing assistants. Be happy to answer any questions if there are any. If not, I ask for your favorable consideration.
Chair recognizes your good friend from Rome, the senator from the 52nd.
Thank you, Mr. President. Will the senator from Perry, Georgia, yield?
Yes, sir, Mr. Chairman.
While you're getting your quorum together, it seems like in this bill the medicines are much more specific than I've ever seen listed in a bill. Have you had any of scope of practice issues from, say, the proctologist or any other groups?
No, sir, Mr. Chairman. We did want to make sure we wrote the bill pretty narrow so that it's clear that we're not trying to go overboard with the scope of practice. And I think I've not heard from anybody from the proctologist lobby on this in opposition. Thank you.
Thank goodness it looks like we've got a quorum now. Senator, you have no more questions.
All right, I'd appreciate your yes vote. Thank you.
Does any other senator wish to speak for or against Senate Bill 215? The chair sees none. All right, the question's on the adoption of the committee substitute. Is there objection to adoption of the committee substitute? Chair hears none. The committee substitute is adopted. Is there objection to agreeing to the report of the committee which is favorable to the passage of the bill? The chair hears none. The report of the committee is agreed to. Is there objection to the main question being ordered? The chair hears none, and the main question is ordered. Questions on the passage of the bill by substitute? All those in favor vote yea. Opposed, nay. The Secretary will unlock the machine. Have all senators voted? Have all senators voted? Hallway looks clear. Got a thumbs up? Mr. Secretary, please close the machine. On the passage of the bill, the yeas are 50, the nays are 0. This bill, having received the requisite constitutional majority, is therefore passed by substitute. Mr. Secretary, can you please read the caption as Senate Bill 221?
Senate Bill 221 by Senator Mullis of the 53rd and others, a bill to be entitled an act to amend Chapter 5 of Title 21 of the OCGA relating to ethics in government so as to provide for a definition, to provide for leadership committees, to provide for chairpersons, to provide that such committees may receive contributions and make expenditures, to provide for disposition of assets in certain circumstances, to provide for filings and reports, to provide for an exception from contribution limits, to provide for certain notices, to provide for related matters, to repeal conflicting laws, and for other purposes. The Senate Committee on Rules recommends that this bill do pass. Respectfully submitted, Senator Mullis of the 53rd. Senate Amendment 1 by Senators Beach of the 21st, offering the following Amendment 1 to amend Senate Bill 221 by inserting at the end of line 20, leadership committees can only spend funds on general election races or on incumbents in a primary election. This completes the order, Mr. President.
Chair recognizes the senator from the 53rd to present Senate Bill 221.
Mr. President, ladies and gentlemen, I have a bill that is a dual equal bill. Now, I know coming here and we're involved in politics, which may be a big surprise for you. Would you call the principal into this room? Today I present, I told him, it said kick me. Thank you, Senator from the 18th. No more bills for you. Today, I present the Political Expenditure Transparency Act. Now think of that, what I said. Transparency Act. Transparency is the word of the decade, I believe. Everything is transparent, and if it isn't, it should be. Well, this bill does that. The outside influence of coordinated dark money in our elections is a cancer. It's a cancer on the election process, our democracy, the election experience, all those direct mail pieces that you get. How many did you get this year? Hundreds? It had to be close to it. And if not, it was a conspiracy with the United States Post Office and all the political races in America, because it was there. It was used maybe in your campaign, or it was used against you in your campaign. Well, it's time to change that, and we need to start somewhere. The Political Expenditure Transparency Act shines a bright light on this dark, coordinated money by forcing that every dollar that a campaign spends in this regard, and every expenditure and every money raised is transparent. Has got that broad light shining on it that makes everybody know who gave money and how you spent it. The campaigns of these Political Expenditure Transparency Act will have to be disclosed with the State Transparency and Campaign Finance Commission. We used to call it the Ethics Commission, which I think I still refer to it as that, even though that may not be correct, but everybody knows. This is a nonpartisan bill, which applies equally to Republicans and Democrats. That allows for creation of leadership campaign committees. Once again, every dollar raised and every dollar spent in these leadership committees must be disclosed. Now, my Republican friends here in this room thinks it's going to help the Democrats. Help the Democrats. I'm doing a bill to help the Democrats. Well, that is correct, because it does. And the Democrats in this room thinks that I'm doing a bill that helps the Republicans. And it does. It does help the Republicans. This helps each side equally. It allows the Democrat caucuses in the House and in the Senate have this kind of political Political Transparency Act committees created. It helps the governor races, both sides of the aisle, so to speak, the lieutenant governor, the speaker, and it also allows 2 committees created, or allows to be created, in each caucus. Could be the minority leader, could be the pro tem, could be the majority leader, could be the senator from the 15th, senator from the 3rd, whatever that caucus decides, that's the direction it could go. But the main emphasis on this bill is transparency. To make sure that transparency, I fumbled that word, transparency is the word of the day, the week, the year, the decade. To make sure every expenditure is disclosed. To make sure that every dime, does anybody get dimes? Every dollar that comes into this campaign of a Political Expenditure Transparency Act is disclosed. There's no secret. Just like there's no secret under the Gold Dome anyway. I mean, some of us have been here a few years, and we know that there's no secrets. This will help us have a little bit of, I don't want to say trust, but awareness of what's going on the other side. It allows you to see what, if I have one, what I'm doing. People who giving me money. The people who, the money we're expending. It's transparent. Now, I'll be glad to answer a lot of questions if there is any, or if some people want to just come and speak. I know that the TV is on, and it's a good stage, a backdrop to get your position on this. And I can read more to keep us here longer today on a Friday. Be glad to. The senator from the 3rd only has to go further than anybody else in this state to get back home. Isn't that right? And and in the mountains I have to go, and we have rain now, but it could turn to snow. You never know. But I want to remind you that this bill is completely bipartisan. I know you don't want to believe that, but it is. Also, our voters will see who is spending this money, where it's going. All that dark money will eventually end because of the creation of this political Transparency Act. I can't get that word out. Expenditure Transparency Act. Everybody will know how the money is spent, who's spending it, where it's going. There'll be no more questions, no more thought of corrupted campaigns. It will be all open. Mr. President, let's start by see if we can answer any questions. If not, I'll be glad to yield the way and let the debate from the opposition begin.
Does any senator have a question for the author? Chair sees none.
Well, I'd like to come back after the others take the well and close, if there is. I would appreciate your open-mindedness, and let's move the state forward by revealing how money is spent from PACs and campaigns. Thank you, Mr. President.
Chair recognizes the senator from the 6th to speak to the measure.
Thank you, Mr. President. So this is a little bit of a homemade thing, but in terms of trying to talk about this bill and what it actually does, I do think that visuals help, right? Transparency is the word of the day, the word of the year, the word of the decade. And to be clear, this bill does not actually make transparency or actually aid transparency when it comes to dark money or to money in general in terms of political campaigns. And let me tell you why. All right, so you start with a 501c4, all right? With a C4, you do not have to disclose who gives you money, right? So for example, I could have billionaires give me money, Kelly Loeffler can just write me a big old check, special interest, big tobacco, you name whatever industry that you really don't like or somebody else doesn't like, big old check. Payday lenders, I don't particularly like them, big old check, right? All of that. Now, you start your 501c4, and it's called, and this is just hypothetically, the We Love Power PAC, also known as WELP, right? All this money goes into WELP. Let's say it's like $100 million goes there. Oh, I forgot about the foreign governments, right? You know, we hear about China and all these other foreign governments. Guess what? They get to give to WELP too, the We Love Power PAC. So I got $100 million from big tobacco, payday lenders, Kelly Loeffler, China, right? Goes into my thing. Yep, China too, right? This is all hypothetical. All this money goes into the leadership committee. Could be leadership committee for a governor, leadership committee for a lieutenant governor, or for one of the caucuses, but $100 million goes to that leadership committee, all right? So then the thing is, well, but you have to disclose, right? All the leadership committee has to disclose is that they got $100 million from the We Love Power PAC. They don't have to talk about came from China, came from Kelly Loeffler, came from big tobacco, came from payday lenders, none of that. So the whole idea that this stops dark money and this is transparent and actually helps with disclosures is not true. And in fact, what it's going to do is it's going to make dark money more prevalent. Also, with respect to this, no limits. No limits. Coordination with the campaigns. One of the things right now, at least with the independent expenditures, some of the rules, you can't coordinate with the campaigns, right? Now, look, I think that Georgia law, in terms of all this, is pretty weak as it is, but man, this kind of takes the cake. It takes it over the line with respect to any kind of transparency or any kind of rule in terms of donations and actually in terms of big interest giving us money, right? So, no limits, coordination. During session, you could have a bill specifically that big tobacco wants, right? Let's say you have maybe Delta, for example. They want their jet fuel tax thing. This is all hypothetical, right? Money can go here, right? Money can go here, and it can go straight to the people in these seats during session when a bill or an issue is right in front of them. You gonna tell me that's transparent? Are you gonna tell me that that actually benefits the people that we represent in this state? This is laughable. Laughable. You know, when I first read this, I was like, for real? For real? I mean, I'm not sure, what was it called? The Transparency Act, something, something. It should be called the Rules Don't Apply to Us Act, the Incumbency Protection Act, the We Should Be Ashamed Act. If you think that this is good for the people you represent, then you might want to do a double take. People are paying attention to what we're doing. And you're going to come up here and talk about voter laws and elections and say it's about transparency and it's about making people trust the system, and then you're going to drop this? This is what makes people not trust the system and not trust us. Look, at the end of the day, we're going to have to stand in front of voters, and we're going to have to answer for stuff like this. You may have a lot of money behind you. You may have a leadership committee, sending a lot of mailers. It's going to catch up with all of us at some point in time. I yield the well.
Senator has yielded the well. Does any other senator wish to speak for or against the bill? The chair recognizes the senator from the 21st to speak to his amendment.
I bring before you an amendment inserting on the end of line 20, leadership committees can only spend funds on general election races or on incumbents in a primary election. These are rules that we have in our Senate caucus, and I just want to codify them into this bill. Mr. President, I yield the well.
Senator has yielded the well. Does any other senator wish to speak for or against the measure or the amendment? The chair sees none. All right, we're going to take up first. Would the senator from the 53rd like to close debate? Chair recognizes the senator from the 53rd to close the debate.
Thank you, Mr. President. Just want to combat a little bit Senator from the 6th. She's right. There are all sorts of people who can give money, like China, and President Biden's son's friends. George Soros, absolutely. He gives millions or billions already. The Hollywood crowd. ACLU, fair fight, which is an oxymoron. And if you're against a certain way that people raise money, I don't see any bills to try to take those away. So maybe there's some oxymoron in that too. But I appreciate you. I ask you to vote for this. I need your help. Let's do shine some light on some of these bad, dark monies. And hopefully this will be the beginning of eliminating all of them and only have transparency. So thank you, and I appreciate your vote on Senate Bill 221.
Thank you, Senator. All right, we'll take up amendment number 1 to start with. The question is on the adoption of amendment number 1 from the senator from the 21st. All those in, is there objection? There's objection. All those in favor of the amendment number 1 from the senator from the 21st, vote yea. Opposed, nay. The secretary will unlock the machine. Have all senators voted? Mr. Secretary, hallway clear? Hallway's clear. Mr. Secretary, please close the machine. On the adoption of amendment number 1, the yeas. Is there objection? Unlock the machine. Have all senators voted? Have all senators voted? Mr. Secretary, will you please close the machine? On the passage of the bill, the yeas are 30, the nays are 21. This bill, having received the requisite constitutional majority, is therefore passed. What purpose does the senator from the 27th rise?
President, I ask unanimous consent to excuse the senator from the 28th.
Without objection, the senator from the 28th is excused. Mr. Secretary, will you please read the caption of Senate Bill 116?
Senate Bill 116 by Senator Robertson of the 29th and others, a bill to be entitled an act to amend Article 1 of Chapter 5 of Title 49 of the OCGA relating to children and youth services so as to provide for registration of maternity supportive housing residents to provide housing for pregnant women. The Senate Committee on Health and Human Services recommends that this bill do pass by substitute. Respectfully submitted, Senator Watson of the 1st. Health and Human Services offers the following substitute to Senate Bill 116, a bill to be entitled an act to amend Article 1 of Chapter 5 of Title 49 of the OCGA relating to children and youth services so as to provide for registration of maternity housing residents to provide housing for pregnant women. This completes the order, Mr. President.
Chair recognizes the senator from the 29th to present Senate Bill 116.
Thank you, Mr. President. Colleagues, I come before you today to discuss something that we're all extremely familiar with, something that we should all understand very well, and something that none of us should be comfortable with, and that is the position of the state of Georgia when we discuss infant mortality rates and maternal mortality rates. Sadly, in the state of Georgia, we continue to rank in the lower 10 states of leading our nation in the number of infants who die prior to birth or during birth. Currently, we rank 44th. If we look at the numbers, that since 2013, we can see where our infant mortality rates have slowly started to decline, but we still have grave concerns. While we see that there are declines in rates with Hispanic females here in Georgia, according to the Centers for Disease Control, we do see upticks in the subgroup of Puerto Rican children being born in our state as far as infant mortality, as they have the highest infant mortality rate there is. A lot of this is attributed to the fact of low birth weight, where mothers and their children, born and unborn, do not have safe housing before, during, and after their pregnancy. If you would consider, look into your heart, as one of my colleagues would say, and find the compassion, because Senate Bill 116 would allow nonprofits that are willing to go into municipalities and counties here in the state of Georgia and build a maternity supporting housing residence, a residential home that has absolutely no impact or change to any of the local building codes, has no involvement as far as government tax dollars, but it would give nonprofits the opportunity to build houses, homes for pregnant women in Georgia, 18 and older, even if they already have children, to take their children and move into a safe place while the mother goes through the pregnancy process and delivers her child. And once the new baby is born, for bonding purposes and for health purposes, the mother, the newborn, and any children that she may already have would continue to live in that residence for 18 months in order to assist them in bonding and transitioning back into the community in a safe and sound manner. And I can promise you from experience, when certain bumps and obstacles impact our lives, it is much more difficult for a female to transition back into everyday life than it is for us males. So I would appreciate your consideration and your vote to adopt Senate Bill 116. And with that, Mr. President, I'll yield for any questions.
Senator, you have no questions.
Thank you, sir.
Actually, you do have a question. Shoot, sorry. Chair recognizes the senator from the 42nd. Go ahead, we can hear you.
Yes, ma'am.
Try your neighbor's microphone.
Will the senator yield?
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you. I heard some concerns that from local governments that because of the Federal Fair Housing Act, which provides that no class of persons protected under the law, which would include this class of persons, could be treated less favorably than any other persons for housing type, that this would force that distinction on local governments because we would be preempting local governments, and therefore either they would be in the position of having to violate federal law or allowing essentially everybody else to have this sort of housing as well. Can you please address that from your perspective?
Yes, ma'am. Some of the information I received, because of the fact these nonprofits, it's open to all nonprofits, and these are residential residents. In other words, they are all the codes, everything. There's no real discernment between the home I live in and the home that these ladies would live in, other than the fact that they would choose to live there. They would not be funneled there, forced there, nor would they be a part of any government program that would dictate any particular rules and regulations. Theoretically, or actually what you would probably have is it would be no different than if these women happened to meet each other on the street and all determined to live in the same property with their children. So looking at the federal concerns, the recommendation or the advice that I received that there would not be in conflict.
So you disagree that the Federal Housing Act would then force the locality to allow any other group that's in a protected class to operate a like establishment, including those with disabilities, which then would encompass halfway houses and other housing for those with mental illness, drug addiction, alcoholism, and the like?
To be honest with you, Senator, I'm not sure. The information I received, which is the information I've offered up, but I think the places you're talking about that I've become familiar with, dealing with addiction and dealing with the halfway houses and the other places, are a little more constructed. Their admittance is much more strict. And most of the ones that I'm familiar with in the state of Georgia are operated by the state of Georgia, including some homes similar to what we're talking about here today. But the reason that this particular group of females here in the state of Georgia can't go into those state homes is because they're already overflowing with younger pregnant females, for the most part, that are trapped in our foster care program. So these right here are giving the nonprofits an opportunity to set up something so that they can take care of those that the state is unable to care for.
Thank you. Would you yield for one more question?
Yes, ma'am.
I'm concerned about your provision on beginning at line 37, where it says the department shall not have the authority to implement rules and regulations. for the registration of maternity supportive housing residences. So we're essentially saying that these folks can operate completely unfettered with no rules and regulations. That would seem to open up potentially some terrible situations as far as unintended consequences. Why would we say that the department shall not have the authority to implement rules and regulations? I mean, why are we even here if we're trying to tell our departments they shouldn't implement any rules and regulations over something? Can you speak to that provision?
Yes, ma'am. I think the track record of the department throughout, I just talked about the current facilities that are available for this particular group, and that is absolutely clogged with much younger pregnant females who are also being managed by one of our state departments at some way in foster care. And what we have found in most of these places, in the homes that the state has approved, funded, the department's aware of, that deal with those with mental health issues, especially juveniles with mental health issues, those other type specialty homes that are set up and managed by the state. Due to a recent meeting we had in my district in Muskogee County, we realized that there is no communication, there is no fluid plan for the management of most of these types of homes that the state is responsible for. Therefore, I think probably the best way for these ladies and their children, the safest way for these ladies and their children to go through this process of bringing a new brother or sister into the world is probably in a residential home with little or no state involvement. And the state actually has no involvement in my residence or other citizens who have residences that would put this basically in line, other than zoning and other than building codes, which these would all have to track along with those.
Well, Senator, I mean,
I'll yield.
Yeah, if you yield for one more question, thank you. The minute there's an unintended outcome in one of these homes, like someone claims abuse or mental distress or harassment or something of that nature, which will happen, you do realize that we've now said the department cannot make any rules, and no county, municipality, or consolidated government can do anything about the establishment of these things. I would posit to you that that's a dangerous situation and expect that we'd have to run down here the minute something goes wrong and change the law.
No, actually, we already have a structure to handle that. It's called local law enforcement. It's called a judicial system. And there are plenty of individuals who carry the same degree that you do that will be able to respond to any issues that may arise from these homes.
But not prevent them in the future.
If the senator could come up with a way to prevent problems in the future, I think none of us would need to come down here. And with that,
Senator,
I yield the well.
I would argue that that's what we have rules and regulations for. Thank you.
Senator has yielded the well. Does any other senator wish to speak for or against Senate Bill 116? For what purpose does the senator from the 41st rise?
Parliamentary something?
Inquiry.
Thank you.
State your inquiry. I knew what you were thinking.
Yes. My inquiry is what are the consequences of a nonprofit that stands up this home to provide for women who are pregnant, and then they seek to provide some additional services like food or taking them to the hospital? I'm just concerned that if my church were to start one of these places and we put 6 women who were pregnant and I was restricted from offering no services other than the house, that I would be failing in my Christian duties.
Senator, the chair has no ability to answer that question. I would encourage you to speak to the bill's author in front of you. Does any other senator wish to speak for or against Senate Bill 116? The chair sees none. The question is on the adoption of the committee substitute. Is there objection to adoption of the committee substitute? Chair hears none, and the committee substitute is adopted. Is there objection to agreeing to the report of the committee which is favorable to the passage of the bill? Chair hears none. The report of the committee is agreed to. Is there objection to the main question being ordered? The chair hears none, and the main question is ordered. Questions on the passage of the bill. All those in favor vote yea. Opposed, nay. The Secretary will unlock the machine. Have all senators voted? We got one coming in. I bet I know who that one is. Have all senators voted? Got a thumbs up in the hallway. Mr. Secretary, please close the machine. On the passage of the bill, the yeas are 32, the nays are 17. This bill, having received the requisite constitutional majority, is therefore passed by substitute. Mr. Secretary, can you please read the caption to Senate Bill 115?
Senate Bill 115 by Senator Robertson of the 29th and others, a bill to be entitled an act to amend Article 1 of Chapter 5 of Title 40 of the OCGA relating to general provisions regarding driver's licenses so as to provide for an instructional course or presentation educating drivers and the public on the best practices to implement when interacting with law enforcement officers. The Senate Committee on Public Safety recommends that this bill do pass by substitute. Respectfully submitted, Senator Albers of the 56th. The Senate Public Safety Committee offers the following substitute to Senate Bill 115, a bill to be entitled an act to amend Article 1 of Chapter 5 of Title 40 of the OCGA relating to general provisions regarding driver's licenses so as to provide for an instructional course or presentation educating drivers and the public on the best practices to implement when interacting with law enforcement officers. This completes the order, Mr. President.
Chair recognizes the senator from the 29th to speak to Senate Bill 115.
Thank you, Mr. President. Colleagues, I come before you with Senate bill that is absolutely, over the past few years, we've realized there has been a disconnect between the understanding of law enforcement behavior for many citizens who may be stopped in a traffic stop or engaged with law enforcement in other manners related to traffic stops. So what this bill does is this bill allows the Department of Public Safety to partner with the Department of Driver Services and co-develop a curriculum that will be taught throughout the state, not only for those young drivers, 15 and 16 years old, just getting their drivers, but also to any driver that is mandated to attend a DUI course or another course by the courts. And I feel that a strong curriculum put throughout the state will reduce a lot of the violence and a lot of the confusion when citizens come in contact with law enforcement officers, especially during traffic stops. And I strongly encourage all of you to support this legislation, as I'm sure it will not only save lives, but go a long way in rectifying certain issues related between law enforcement and citizen relationships. And with that, Mr. President, I yield for any questions.
Sorry. You have no questions.
Thank you, Mr. President. I yield the well.
Does any other senator wish to speak for or against Senate Bill 115? Chair sees none. The question is on the adoption of the committee substitute. Is there objection to adoption of the committee substitute? Chair hears none, and the committee substitute is adopted. Is there objection to agreeing to the report of the committee which is favorable to the passage of the bill? The chair hears none. The report of the committee is agreed to. Is there objection to the main question being ordered? The chair hears none and the main question is ordered. Questions on the passage of the bill by substitute. All those in favor, vote yea. Opposed, nay. The secretary will unlock the machine. Have all senators voted? Have all senators voted? I got thumbs up out there. Mr. Secretary, will you please close the machine? On the passage of the bill, the yeas are 36, the nays are 13. This bill, having received the requisite constitutional majority, is therefore passed by substitute. You'll just stand at ease for just a couple of minutes. We're waiting for a piece of information that might help us with a little bit of planning for next week, so just potentially. Don't want to oversell this. All right, the Senate will come back to order. Chair would like to recognize the Majority Leader for a point of personal privilege.
This one's not as good as the senator from 24th was earlier. Okay, here's the position we're in right now. The House has not passed the resolution, the adjournment resolution that takes us to sine die. It's on their docket. It's just the next thing coming up. And I think the will of the chamber is not to keep y'all here waiting for them to do this. So what I would tell you is Monday, I'm going to move that we adjourn at 10 or 1 o'clock on Monday. So we will be here Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. Remember that Wednesday will be the last day before session starts that bills can come out of committee, and that you have a work day, if you want, Chairman, on Tuesday. So that's the schedule for next week. As you remember, this morning we waived our rule and moved crossover to the 28th day, which would be that following Monday, which is March 8th. So that'll get you through the crossover day, and we would just move to approve the adjournment resolution on Monday when we reconvene. If that's I'm not going to say if that's okay. That's what we're going to do. So, subject to your questions. I can't. It's personal privilege. Thank you, Mr. President. I yield the well.
I'll clarify a couple things with a Cliff Notes version. So the House is taking up the adjournment resolution at some point. Some forward visibility into the week. So we're going to reconvene on Monday at 1 o'clock here. The plan is if the adjournment resolution passes and then we come back and pass on Monday here, we'll be then is the last day for bills to pass out of committee. So, and if you would like a committee meeting on Tuesday, please let the Secretary's desk know that. Chair recognizes the Majority Leader again.
Thank you, Mr. President. And
I struggled with that concept myself. My wife will tell you all about it.
I move that the Senate stand adjourned until 1 p.m. on Monday, March 1st, 2021.
Mr. Secretary, can you please read your announcements?
The Rules Committee will meet upon adjournment in room 450. Ethics Committee will meet upon adjournment of rules in room 307 CLOB, and Judiciary Committee is canceled. This completes the order, Mr. President.
Chair recognizes the senator from the 42nd for an announcement. To introduce our Doctor of the Day.
Thank you, Mr. President and colleagues. Sorry I'm late on this. I just want to introduce our Doctor of the Day, who is Dr. Anna Skold. She's also with Southeast Permanente Medical Group, and she is the Chief of Palliative Care. I met Dr. Skold several years ago, actually when I was running for the state Senate, and she's volunteered her time practically every single year to be with us. She's a mom. Her husband's also they met in Denali, Alaska, and they have 2 kids. They like hiking, they love camping, and I'm very grateful to her. She's also someone that I have learned a lot from about palliative care, if that's an area of medicine that you have not dug into before. Thank you, Mr. President. I yield the ball.
Chair recognizes the Pro Tem for an announcement.
Thank you, Mr. President. I'll be brief. We have testing on Monday morning, 7 to 11. If that changes, you will get an email over the weekend. We will communicate with the Minority Leader and let her make sure that all her caucus is aware, and Majority Leader, the balance of the chamber. Monday morning, 7 to 11, currently, but it may change, so watch your emails.
Thank you, Mr. President. Chair recognizes the senator from the 37th for an announcement.
I thought I'd been deposed. Thank you.
Chair recognizes the senator from the 36th for an announcement.
Thank you. Colleagues from Fulton County, I want to remind you that there's a joint Fulton County delegation meeting that was scheduled for noon, scheduled upon adjournment. And so those of you may want to check with me around plans going forward for the Fulton and Atlanta delegation meetings this afternoon, unless you've already gotten some message about it. But it is set to go forward as far as I know. Thank you.
All right. The Majority Leader has moved that the Senate stand adjourned until Monday, March 1st, 2021 at 1 p.m. All those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye. Opposed, no. The ayes have it, and we're going to stand adjourned. Have a great, safe drive home. Thank you.